A man decides after 70 years that what he goes there for is to unlock the door. Well, those around him criticize and sleep. And through a fractal on a breaking wall, I see you, my friend, and touch your face again. Miracles will happen as we dream. But we're never gonna survive unless we get a little crazy. No, we're never gonna survive.
The Forum 2, exclusively on YouTube Live, weekdays from 9 a.m. until 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. We tackle the tough issues, political, social, cultural, and racial. It may not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know. Check out our website, theforum2.com. Call in live, 414-395-0484. Check us out. Good morning. Welcome to the program. Thursday, October 29, 2020. 5 days. And I can recall how I felt in 1999 with about 5 or so days left before the year 2000, because we believed at the time the entire world was going to come to an end because computers didn't know how to change the 9 in 99 to the 0 in 2000. Mostly uneventful, which I think was good, but we didn't know what was going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen 5 days from now because we have been hearing so much about November 3rd, 2020 since November of 2016. It has been a constant conversation. And when I voted earlier this week, it was an emotional experience, like all the discussions that we've had and all the arguments and complaining and the things that we have all been through as individuals, as communities, as an entire nation, all came to a head with the simple act of casting a vote. And even though on paper it seems like that would be an easy thing to do, there have been a lot of activities designed to stop and suppress the vote. And I want us to be particularly vigilant of those coming up in the next 5 days. Yesterday, maybe it's today. Either way, don't do it. Was the last day to request your absentee ballot by mail. Don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, I want you to vote. Let me be clear when I say I want you to vote. Because you know how folks are out there saying like, oh, we don't care who you vote for. As long as you vote. No. I mean, I'm going to say it. If you're going to vote for Donald Trump, he's not going to do anything for you. He's going to hurt the country. He's a terrible businessman. If you're going to vote for Donald Trump, then don't vote at all. However, if you're going to vote for Joe Biden and that different vision of America, then I would say by all means, go vote in person or one of the early voting sites here in the city of Milwaukee. If you've received your mail-in ballot, you've got a number of drop-off sites that you can take that ballot to, secure drop-off sites, and those ballots are collected every night. I'm going to talk to a couple of folks this morning. I'm going to talk to my good friend, State Representative Jason Fields, who pretty soon is not going to be State Representative Jason Fields anymore, as he is not seeking re-election to the 11th Assembly District. And Dora Drake is the candidate who is looking to be his successor. Those of you who may not be familiar with Dora Drake, she's running for the 11th Assembly District. And there is an opponent. There's a Republican opponent who is not just a Republican opponent, but an avid and devout Trump supporter. And so the Trump mechanism is trying to reach its way into Milwaukee legislative districts. So I want to get Jason's perspective and point of view on not just his time in the Wisconsin State Legislature and separate stints in which he has been in the legislature, but now in the era of Trump, there's a Republican that is trying to succeed him. Another person we're going to talk to is Emily Siegrist. Emily Siegrist is a candidate for the Wisconsin State Assembly in the 24th district. And looking forward to talking to her because the 24th district is one of those really heavily gerrymandered legislative districts that was cut and designed so that Democrats would have a really tough time winning. It is parts of Glendale, Mequon, Germantown. I think it goes all the way out deep into Washington County, maybe even portions of Richfield. It is as conservative. If you wanted to draw or encircle conservative voters outside of Milwaukee County, the 24th Assembly District is exactly what you would do. But Emily Siegrist is actually competitive in that district. So we're going to see what has changed from her first run when she ran in 2018 to what the campaign is like now and what those suburban voters are saying this go around. And here's the thing, she has a legitimate shot at winning, even in a gerrymandered district that was drawn and cut so that Republicans could have the best chance at winning. We're starting to see some of those suburban areas outside of the city of Milwaukee. They're tired of Donald Trump as well. And so if Emily is able to flip the 24th Assembly seat blue, then there is a real chance that Democrats could have a fighting shot at getting the majority in the Wisconsin State Assembly. So we're looking forward to talking with Emily and about 9:45, give or take. G. Collins, good morning. Tammy Reed, good morning. Dorian Higgins, good morning to you, sir. Haywood Beeman says, good morning, y'all. And y'all say good morning right back. Tammy Reed, got to get a little crazy to survive. If that doesn't describe these times, I don't know if I should be excited or nervous, afraid. It's just what's going to happen in 5 days. We're going to provide some election day coverage. I don't know how much of it, because if they tell me, hey, Sherwin, we need you at the militia over at King High School, what I'm going to do? I'm going to answer the call to serve my country and protect our voters in this city. I talked to the mayor yesterday, and he doesn't think that there will be long lines. He also said that he's going to put in a call to Public Works because some of the inconsistencies that we see on election day, like cops writing tickets and all that other stuff, somebody parks in 15-minute parking, but if you're in line for an hour to vote, who gets out of line to move their car? So we're going to hopefully get more cooperation from local authorities because this is a huge presidential year. But I don't suspect very many voter suppression activities. Now, there's going to be observers, there's going to be poll watchers. So expect that. There may be people talking to you while you're in line. Expect that as well. Let me also say this. You cannot wear, every election I have to say this because somebody does it anyway. You can't wear your Biden hat, shirt, button. You can't put a Biden bumper sticker across your face and then go into the polling location. You can't have anything that's any campaign. It could be a state assembly race or a state senate race. You can't have anything that says the name of a candidate whom you choose or don't choose to vote for on your person or on display. What happened during the Obama elections, everybody and their mother wore their Obama t-shirt to the polls, and the poll workers were actually very nice and just told people to turn their shirts inside out. You could still see the Obama when they turned it inside out. But do not show up to the polls showing who you're going to vote for, because they'll probably turn you away. And you don't want to be in line for I don't know how long, and then you get up to your first spot in line when you're about to enter the building and they turn you away because of what you're wearing. So just keep all that stuff at home. Now, you can have your Biden Kamala Harris shirt in the car, and after you go vote, you put your shirt on. You can do all that, but just don't go to the polling location displaying any candidate paraphernalia. Tutu Reeves, good morning, all. LOL, Seal, high school days. Oh, yeah. We can have this fight if y'all want to. The 1990s, unless you were in federal prison, the best decade in human history. Come at me. Douglas Dickerson, good morning. Denise Jones, good morning. Wake up, people. Time to rise and grind. Let's make it happen. Ronald Gergen, thank you for listening. Diana Beckham, good morning to you as well. Linda Johnson, it's like waiting for a birthday, waiting for the third. Maybe that's, I'm glad you're optimistic, Linda. I don't really know because so much can go wrong. And the way the political pundits have described the different pathways to 270 electoral votes is just, it's a crapshoot. It's all over the map. But I got a story here that says that the state of Texas, the reddest of the red, Texas has got to be 45, 46 electoral votes, guaranteed for the Republicans since 1980. The last time the great state of Texas has gone blue was for Jimmy Carter, 1976. Since then, it has been so reliably red. If you are a Republican and you're running for president, you don't even have to spend money in Texas. You don't have to send direct mail. You don't have to run TV ads, radio ads. If you live in Texas, okay, especially in some of the big metro areas, your mailbox might look like this one. Hold on, let me see. Because I got, when I hold these up, sometimes you guys can't see them. Look at here. And then I showed you the one I got on Saturday about the black militia. This is since Saturday. Some of these I've thrown away. I usually keep these because when I am involved in political campaigns, I help design and distribute political mail for particular candidates. And I sometimes keep these flyers as a reminder of what looks good, what doesn't look good, what can be duplicated, what's, effective. This is just since Saturday. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's regular mail. 5, 6. Did I get 2 of the same one? Y'all tripping. Hold on. So we just recycling pictures of Joe and Kamala is what we're doing. Oh, one is a one-pager. Look at old Biden. Hold on. Like he about to punch Trump in the mouth. And then this one is a little book. Who reads all this? Y'all read these? Why would you read these? I already know who I'm voting for. I knew who I was voting for before most of y'all did. I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Obama sent me one. Obama should have sent me more. Obama's number 8. And then the black militia is number 9. I've got 9 pieces of mail since Saturday. I probably will get several pieces every day between now and the election. I'm sure you guys have received a lot as well. But you know what's interesting? I haven't come across anybody who received the black militia mail piece. Like, no, and I posted it all over the Facebooks. Nobody else has received that. So did they target me? Why would they think, oh, Sherwin would want to join a black militant militia? Why me? Do I come across as militant? Mark Chambers says, I'm riding through Trump country now on my way to Warsaw. God bless you, Mark. Be careful. You might go through some sundown towns, try to get back home before the sun goes down. Try not to stop for gas. Because I always imagine when you go to northern Wisconsin, all of a sudden people get southern accents. I always think that anytime I think of a small town in anywhere America, I always think that you ain't from around here, is you, boy? Yeah, that's Trump country for sure. But what I'm being told, and I don't go into Trump country because I just have no business there. Like, I have no business other than Wauwatosa, which borders essentially where I live. I don't play around in the suburbs because and first of all, I'm staying in the house now more than ever. This Rona is not playing with y'all. I'm serious. I've been cautious. I wear a mask everywhere I go. Have I been 100%? I mean, in May, I snuck out and went out I had some Mexican food. It would feel good to go to a restaurant because I hadn't gone. So I was literally in the house from St. Patrick's Day until the week of Memorial Day. Memorial Day, I stayed in the house. Actually, I went to my parents' house, so that doesn't count. But I was literally in the house, just going to the grocery store or running real essential errands between March and the week of Memorial Day. And then Memorial Day, because for some reason I think the virus was going down, or I don't know. And the suburbs were the wild, wild west. And so I went to Wauwatosa, and it was just, when I went, I mean, we were socially distanced at the restaurant. There was our table, an empty table, then another group of diners. So we were socially distanced, but there was no masks going on, and it felt semi-normal. And Memorial Day is a big deal for us folks in Wisconsin because it's the start of summer, and we only get 15 minutes worth of summer anyway. So I did, I went out to eat a couple of times. But for the most part, I stayed really careful and really cautious because I have dinner with my parents every Sunday. My brother and I, we go and eat at our parents' house. And so I want to make sure that I'm keeping them safe. But I'm more afraid now because I've been lucky to not have gotten sick. And so now I'm going to be particularly cautious because every year I usually get a cold. Usually in the fall, I get the cold. I get a cold. I get the flu every now and again, but I do get the flu shot. But I'm just, any sniffle, any sneeze that happens, even if it's my allergies, I'm like, oh, that's the Rona. Have y'all sneezed into your mask yet? Not a pleasant experience. But I guess when you sneeze, because you can't take it off, I was in the grocery store and I was wearing my mask, and I swear to God, I sneezed so hard that the mask went bloop, like the elastic stretched. It was something else. But I'm concerned, and also the coronavirus fatigue. I was talking to a friend about this. So we'll have this fall, we'll have this winter. I don't know what the new restrictions are going to be, assuming that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris get elected. I don't know what a Democratic legislature is going to do as far as helping to get Wisconsin back on track. But it's going to be rough going for a while because we're still on an incline here, and Wisconsin is number one or number two in the country. Still, we're always an embarrassment for the wrong reasons. Um, so I don't know how things are going to start looking next spring, but I'm going to tell you this. I don't think it matters where the coronavirus is by the start of next summer. People are going to just give up. In the state of Wisconsin, I'm a Wisconsin resident. I live here my entire life. People are not going to miss 2 summers. That's why I'm nervous. So whatever needs to get put in place so we can get to some semblance of normalcy by next summer, I think that's what we need to do because people are not going to give up 2 summers. I don't think they will. I think the corona fatigue has already set in. You got the holidays that are coming up. What does that mean? Are people going to travel to see their relatives across the country, or are people just going to shelter in place for the holidays? So I guess I suppose we'll see what happens. I got a couple of articles here. Got a Marquette University Law School poll that came out yesterday, and it's not encouraging. Joe Biden does have a lead of 5 points ahead of Donald Trump in the state. But at this same time in 2016, Hillary Clinton was up 7. What makes me nervous is in the Marquette University Law School poll, which has stayed relatively steady as far as Joe Biden's poll numbers over the last several months. Joe Biden is not polling at 50%, or what makes me comfortable, a 51% margin. We're going to pause there, and we're going to bring in my friend, State Representative Jason Fields. I need to say State Representative Jason Fields as much as I can because pretty soon you're not going to be State Representative Jason Fields anymore. Good morning, sir. How are you?
What's up, man? I'm out, bro.
No, hold on. Not yet. Don't listen, man. Do you feel like a senior about to graduate? You're done with high school. You got senioritis. You're tired of it.
Man, it's cool because I was talking with Representative Haywood, and I was telling him, and I told Dora, one of the reasons for me feeling good about and I hate retiring because it sounds like I'm some kind of, like I've been in the game for 70 years or something like.
I mean, kind of. You have earned a retirement, so, other than the pension.
Right. I'm checking the retirement numbers and doing the math. I was telling both of them, I feel good because, I think, and you and I've talked about this. You see these young hot leaders coming up, man, and I tell them both. I take credit for them. I take credit for mentoring Kaylin and Dora. And I think when you see that, man, it was one of the reasons why I felt comfortable saying, you know what, the state, Milwaukee, got some hot upcoming leaders, man, and they gonna take it to the next level. And so that's what made me feel that more comfortable saying it's time for me to move on and go in another direction. So
You were first elected in 2004, served until 2012, then ran again in 2016, and now
yeah,
you are
after
not
you
seeking
called
re-
me, after you called me, do they
Listen,
know the
you ready
story?
for do we tell it? I think everybody knows it by now. I tell it every time I talk to you. And it's because of, and so let me also say this. So I reached out to Mandela. Well, today's Thursday, on Tuesday, because Mandela is hot. He's on
Yeah,
CNN.
yeah,
He's everywhere. I'm like, okay, dude, come and have a conversation with us. I'm thinking I got Tom Baer and Eric Holder on the same show. Mandela Barnes, a lieutenant governor from Milwaukee, wouldn't have a problem coming to talk to me. No response from him. But people need to know the reason why you made it onto the ballot in 2016 is because Mandela missed a filing deadline and allowed for other, because he was running for the state senate at the time against Lena, which he
yep,
lost. And there was a deadline in which he had to file paperwork by to say he wasn't running again for the assembly. He
yeah,
missed the deadline. And so there was an extension of just one weekend. If somebody could get a necessary amount of signatures, 200, they could get on the ballot and run in the 11th Assembly District. And you got 500 signatures that weekend. You get on the ballot, and then you go back to the Wisconsin State Assembly.
yeah. You know, man, it was. I think we did it right. I mean, and not taking anything away from the lieutenant governor or anybody, but I think as far as our team, me, you, Simon, and all the people we came in with, um, and when you look at my history and the story, the recovery, the sort of depression, the stage I went through from 2012 to 2016, man, I think it was for us a way to come back and say, you know what, this time we're gonna do it and exit the Jordan way. We're gonna leave on our own terms, with 30 bills passed and signed into legislation when I came back. Uh, I don't know, maybe one of the only African American legislators to get legislation signed by three different governors. So I think we did it right, and I believe we showed people at a day and age where a lot of this is about a lot of Hollywood stuff is rhetoric. We have to, increase the dialogue. We have to elevate the discussion, man, which is why I think we've always loved your voice in the show that you've done because it elevates us to not just following for rhetoric, but to question everything, every policy, regardless of who it's coming from. Because at the end of the day, we black people first, and so that's how we have to approach solving problems for our community. We black, the D and the R after your name, yeah, that has its place. But at the end of the day, we got to be on the lookout for our community, and that takes precedence.
If you had to compare your first, I guess, series of terms in the assembly from 2005 to 2013 to 2017 until 2021, I guess what are some of the differences? Because you've passed bills both stints in the legislature. In fact, you were the Democrat that got the most bills signed into law, whether it was your first stint or this most recent one. But I guess are there are there comparisons between the two? Clearly, politics were different. The idea of a progressive back in 2005 didn't have the same meaning that it has right now. In fact, they have been some of our toughest critics, right? Even though you get sent back by your constituents, having to do battle with your own caucus and the progressive, something is probably newer to this series of terms than in 2005 to 2013. So I guess how do you compare the two? Because politics have been in two different places in the two terms, the two different stints that you served in the legislature.
I think it's more wisdom, and experience and knowing how to navigate, the environment. When I first came in, I mean, and I came in, it was a class of nine, myself, Tamara Grigsby, um, Lena Taylor was just now, making her move from going to the Assembly to the Senate. Um, So we were all, and it was, I think, 2004 when it was a wave of all of us. I mean, on the alderman level, it was Ashanti, Willie Wade, and Malele, and
Mike Jr.
yeah, I mean, and even Caesar had, you know, it was so many of us. And I think we were young. We, you know, we were idealistic. Um, and we didn't know, I think, all the ins and outs. And so I think the difference became much more of an expertise. You know, I hate to describe it in at sports analogy, but you know, you a young Kobe and a Michael Jordan, you go into the hole, you physically strong, you know, you energetic, you know, you got body, you strength. And as you get older, you get wiser. You know, you settling for a jump shot. You know what I'm saying? Like
You give the ball for an assist.
right,
You pass it off sometimes. Absolutely.
right. You learn more about the game and how to navigate it. And so, and I think the people look at you, um, you know, because I think we were ahead of our time the way you and I talked about politics. That sometimes, again, and not taking anything away from the party, but there are some times where we as African Americans have to approach it from that perspective, from that lens. And so that means calling out anybody that's going against our narrative as a community. And so I think you see a lot of people started to come over to that and go, wait a second, man. The Jason and Sherwin talking about some real stuff because now we see it. And so, you know, you start to see a lot of more people taking on that narrative going, well, let's call it out. Or when there's an issue, we need to address it regardless of who it's coming from. And then quite honestly, I think you know, there is some credibility in looking at the experience. You know, now I'm considered the OG in this. You know what I mean? I'm like, which is crazy to me. But I mean, again, I think when you look at it where it's Governor Evers or it's the Republican Party, Jason Fields is and his team and his associates, you and other people, you looked at as reasonable people who can help navigate, you know, what we need to be talking about. And so I think that those are the things that I learned to really to control myself, temper myself, pace myself, and really focus on how do you get things done versus just showing up to smile for the camera. You know, I've always hated that kind of stuff.
Any regrets? Things you wish you would have done different? Because hindsight is always 2020. You know, whether it's a bill, a proposal, a particular issue, anything you regret, whether it was in your first stint or your most recent and final stint in the legislature.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can say regrets, because I'm sort of, you know, what I went through, what we went through, led us to this point. You know what I mean? And so it was all an experience, and I think we all had to go through this. And I say we because you were always right there by my side, going through this stuff with me. I mean, the ups and downs, Calvin Lee, Simon Warren. There was a lot of people going through me with all through going through all the stuff with me, and so regrets. I don't know about regrets. Were there things that maybe I could have did differently? Maybe. I do question sometimes how much more effective would I have been if I went if I stayed that course where I want to just please everybody and got appointed to like a joint finance or something like that. Because so I think that's one of the things that I look at. Because you know, in this political game, you get appointed to that kind of committee as long as you not rocking the boat. You know what I mean? As long as you not, you know, as long as they got some kind of influence and can tell you what you need to be working on, you get that. And so behind the scenes, everybody knew Jason ain't gonna never get appointed to joint finance because he think for himself, you know. And so
that's a shame because, and I know as being an appointee of the governor on the elections board, your appointment comes with a set of instructions.
Yes, it does. And so
you may have your own rules or moral code, but if they don't follow the instructions of your appointer, I'm sorry, we got to find somebody else.
That's right. And so, you know, wondering how much more effective could I have been in a position like that for the community, that's something that I question, but I don't regret any of it, man, because I think it led me up to this point. Um, and I'll say one regret that I have, and I think about it often. When Tamara got sick, me and Tamara, as you know, many people know, wherever you saw Tamara, you saw me. Me and Tamara was like, we were always together. And I didn't see her for like a good 2 years, maybe, before she passed away. So I never really got a chance to say bye. We talked on the phone, but I never got a chance to see her. And I was going through my own ups and downs. I didn't get a chance to go to her funeral. But that's probably the one regret, that I didn't get to see my best friend for like 3 years before she passed away.
I know she's shining down and very proud of the work that you've done. Also, I think had Tamara, if she was still with us, she'd probably be governor or mayor.
You know, she
Both.
yeah, she was good, man. I mean, and didn't take, didn't change her style for nobody. Was just one of the rare, and I love T was smart, but T was hood like us,
She had a master's degree in social work, so she knew, an academic discipline, and,
Right.
and carried this love for the community and the constituency to Madison, and you couldn't tell her any different. I think we miss like
Yeah,
that spirit, and I think I see some of that in Adora Drake, who we're going to talk about it in just a
yeah.
second. But Jay, they don't make them like they used to.
No, man, they, and she knew Milwaukee, Madison, and she was just one of us. And so you're right, they don't make a lot of and this is some of the issues why I haven't really came out and been vocal too much about some of the stuff that I see, because our community, we haven't got to a point where we understand how to look at leadership, choose leadership, evaluate leadership, and determine who's the best to go with. We still fall victim to who got the biggest mouth. You know what I mean? And that don't mean nothing at the end of the day. And so, those are the kinds of things that bothered me. And so when I saw Kaylin, Representative Haywood, Dora Drake, I was attracted to them because, one, they work hard. Two, there's a level of humility, man. I mean, when you're around these people, they not afraid to admit they don't know it all. You don't hear them talking crazy about you behind your back like we done heard from a bunch of, like, man, we know everybody. Shut your mouth, right? Stop talking. That's the reason why you ain't winning, because you're running your mouth. And so I use the word temperament because people got to understand this is a savvy game. This ain't for the people who get into politics and think I'm gonna get more power. Dora calls me and Dora talk, and she'll say, Jay, what have you got me into? And to me, that's a level of humility, knowing that, this is gonna be a process. This is gonna be progress. Representative Haywood, same thing. Jay, man, why you leaving? You done got me in this mess. And that's a level of, you know what? We know we hungry, we want to learn, we want to do the work. And so they just, man, I absolutely love them, love Dora. I couldn't be more happier, man, that, and quite honestly, and I'll say this, that we found Adora Drake. You know what I mean? Because, you've not talked about this. You leaving, there's some ownership in the 11th Assembly District. And to feel like, you got somebody who coming after you who gonna take this thing and be effective and not be, quite honestly, a jerk. That goes a long way. I have people now calling me saying, Jason, we love her. Just from meeting her and listening and having the ability to listen to her and experience that humility and willingness to get work done. Most people don't know that kind of stuff goes a long way in this game.
And also, there probably is this real sense of community that you have with the people of the 11th Assembly District. And even though you won't be representing them in Madison anymore, it's got to be important to you to make sure that they're going to be in good hands, because I think there's been a level of customer service and of communication that they have grown accustomed to. And it's important for your successor, because for a while, people are still going to associate you with the 11th Assembly District. And so having someone in the style and spirit of Dora Drake, I think it leaves the district in very good hands. Let me ask you this one. Last fall, you made an announcement that you were running for City of Milwaukee Comptroller.
Yeah.
That executive position has never been won. That election has never been won by an African American in the history of the City of Milwaukee. There have been other attempts in the past, and those fell short. For all intents and purposes, I thought the campaign went as good as it could have.
Yeah.
But then to see the end result,
Yeah.
was it at all discouraging for you? Because you know a lot of folks, Jay, they'll run for office, they'll lose, they never run for office ever again. They don't even think about it. Was there a level of discouragement that maybe turned you away or turned you off from public service?
No, I mean, I think it was bittersweet, man. I mean, one, the campaign, the help, I don't think we could have did better, right? I mean, because when you look at it, we won the primary by a decent margin. And I don't necessarily feel like we lost, rather it got taken away, because I think when you crunch the numbers, we lost by 900 some votes. That means I got 40 some thousand votes. My opponent got 40,000 votes. And when you look at 900 votes, and I've talked to you about this, I know 900 people who didn't vote for me. So simply because we went from 180 voting locations to only 5 in the middle of a pandemic. And that means 50% of the Black folks are in all the Black wards, 50% of people didn't vote. So 2,000 people who normally would vote in, let's say, Ashanti Hamilton district, you only had 1,000. Well, there's the race right there. And so you factor that in across the way the city of Milwaukee was done and treated. I don't necessarily, it's bittersweet. Like, you hate to lose because I'm competitive, but I feel like God knew what he was doing. What bothers me the most about all this stuff is the double standards, right? That's the hypocrisy and the double standards. That's what bothers me. The fact that here's a person who was controlling, talking about how savvy they are, and then you look and you see that the city of Milwaukee, we lost over close to $300 million and nobody said a word. And that kind of stuff, had that been me at the helm, my face would be plastered on the Journal Sentinel right now. See, this Black man lost 300 million. Ain't nobody said a word about that. So that kind of stuff is what bothers me. And the things that you and I talked about, that position sits on the Summerfest board, sits on the Milwaukee Convention Center, which is about to get $420 million in taxpayer money. Who's out there saying, hey, we need some minority and Black people working on these contracts? And so those are kind of things where, we miss out on, and it hurts our community, because now that's $420 million that could be, used to hire business owners. That's another, hundreds of millions of dollars that could be used to, instead of spending so much money on police, that could be used to put money towards programs for the community. And so it becomes a thing of who's really the best for the position for the community. And so, I told my wife, we're in a stage where, and I'm very critical about this. We get what we ask for. We keep electing people, and they treat us like crap, and we keep electing them. So, I'm good, man. As long as I got my wife, you, and all other folk, I'm straight.
We always going to be here for you, man. I want to read a couple of comments. And here's the other mistake that I made. Why would I schedule you for 15 minutes? Like, we don't know how to have a 15-minute conversation. But I do want to get in Emily Siegrist. I'm going to be talking to her next, running in the 24th. But a couple of comments. Say it again, Jay.
She's running a good campaign.
She is. She is. Terrence says it's wisdom knowing when it's time to move forward. Tyrone Bates says salute. Terrence goes on to say, that's right. You're leaving right with great integrity. You would have been a hollow soul if you were a people pleaser. I honor your integrity and transparency. That's being 100. You are more effective to the community as a no ass butt person. No kiss. Wait a minute. No kiss butt. He said butt. I threw in the word ass. Rep Jason Fields, you were talking, still voting for the biggest mouth with no humility. And then he goes on to give you a whole bunch of other compliments. And then Arlene Wesley says, good morning. Well, Jason, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, man.
Bro.
And you let me know the next thing you're going to do, and I'll,
Yeah, man, we ain't done yet. Love you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. All right, bro.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right.
All right, State Rep Jason Fields. Now, let's talk to Emily Siegrist. Good morning, Emily. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm glad you could join us. Lot to discuss. A lot I want to ask you. You are a candidate, Democratic candidate for the 24th Assembly District. You ran in 2018, fell a couple thousand votes short, decided to run again. Between the two campaigns, what is different now between the other big blue wave year of 2018?
That is a great question, Sherwin. I've kind of thought about this too, and obviously the two campaigns have been really different because of COVID and how we're able to contact the voters. And I think, this time around, I had some more name recognition. So there were polls that were completed in our district showing that I had more name recognition than my opponent. That showed that, just everything that we laid out in 2018 has helped us in 2020. And I think that's like one thing to remember for people who are considering running for office, that, you may not get it on the first time. But the second time you've built this kind of already grassroots, volunteers and supporters who are like, hey, if you're going to do it again, we'll support you. But then more people have jumped on the wagon as well. I also think nationally with how we've handled COVID, whether we look at President Trump or whether we look here in Wisconsin, has really played a big role in people getting fired up. Because in 2018, it was the ACA and people were really concerned about their health care and what was going to happen. But I think this has shown to be more concerning for not just Democrats. Like, this isn't a political issue. I think it's just Republicans are worried too. And, even though they don't want to talk about it as much, they're definitely worried.
We probably should be a little more specific about the 24th Assembly District. It is a heavily gerrymandered Republican district. In fact, it seems, as I'm looking at the map, it looks like these lines were drawn intentionally to make Democratic candidates have the most difficult path to victory in this district. And the fact that you are doing well and you have name recognition. I even saw a TV commercial for you on broadcast TV, which I'll be honest, I was delighted to see, but I haven't seen a television commercial for an assembly candidate, especially a Democrat in a district like this, in I can't tell you how long. Give some perspective on Germantown. It goes all the way out to Richfield. There's parts of Mequon. This is literally Trump country. And the fact that you're competitive must say something about the movement and the motion of the electorate.
Yeah, I know, like when you break it down like that, I think it's like a miracle, right? Like it's a pretty wonky district to say the least. I actually represent 4 counties, the WOW counties and Milwaukee County. And you can see in the map where they've definitely cut out just Milwaukee to ensure that I don't have those votes. And, I worked really hard in 2018. I knocked we did over 10,000 doors to talk to voters and see what issues were important to them. And, this time around, we have probably contacted 20,000 voters on the phone, which they're tired of. And lit dropped this district twice. And, we've just ran a really kind of scrappy field campaign to see what we could do in this district. And I think, a lot of people that I've spoken to have said they don't even know who my opponent is. And he's been in the seat for 12 years, that he's been their representative. And the fact that they don't even know who he is, I think says a lot about how he's been able to go under the radar for so long. And I've just been able to, I think it's a compelling story. People feel like they can relate to me at different levels, whether that's talking about the military, whether that's talking about being, a registered nurse, whether that's being a mom of 2 kids trying to get through this pandemic. People feel like I think I'm more relatable.
What are some of the issues that you're hearing from voters in the traditionally Republican, conservative, wild counties? Because I know, in fact, that there are issues that bring people together that we're all very concerned about, especially during the times of COVID. So what are some of those issues that you were hearing from typically, Republican, conservative voters that echo with Democratic voters as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, when I talk to strong Republicans, like I spoke to a gentleman yesterday, and his concern was the economy, and that we're, working on jobs, getting people back to work, getting our kids back to school. And like, he was an older person, so I doubt he's in the same position that I'm in, where I do want my kids to go back to school, right? Like, I mean, it's not easy trying to teach my child online. And so, what I tried, because he was a small business owner, I said, what do you feel like there's policies that we could do better at the state level to help our small businesses? And he mentioned like the PPP loans, which, I told him, like, we know where a lot of that money went, and I told him, I said, our Black and brown small businesses did not receive those PPP loans. It definitely, and we can see where it went. And he's like, well, I got it. And I was like, well, I mean, what does that say? Like, you live in, I was like trying to get to him to be like, you are a white middle-aged man. Like, there are other businesses, people of color, that didn't receive those. And I said, I think that and then he asked me what we should have done. And I said, well, I think we should have seen where those loans were going and making sure that those loans were actually going to people that really needed them, and so forth. And so, I understand the economy aspect. We've lost a lot of jobs during this pandemic. I know people want to get back to work, but we have to do it in a safe manner. And so, I think we agree bottom line at the same things. I just think the way that we approach it might be different. But like, I told him, I said, I appreciate your time. I know he's not going to vote for me, but I said, I plan to win the seat and that I'll be a representative. And if he wants to sit down and talk to me about how we can help our small businesses here in our state, I'd be willing to have a conversation with him. And so, it's just important to have those conversations. I know I'm not going to win every vote. Like, we know that. And I just hope that by having them, they realize that I'm not this like extreme left-wing liberal person that like the GOP thinks painting me to be.
Yeah, they're running kind of wild with that, these left-wing socialists that are coming to destroy all of your buildings and your properties. And I'm just wondering how they think that's going to pay off. But in the YouTube chat, because we're broadcasting live on YouTube, you have got a couple of potential constituents. Sarah Laguerre says, I've got Emily's sign in my yard and I see more and more support for her over Conodal. Fingers crossed for change. Melissa Garvis says, me too, looking forward to the last lit drop on Sunday. You got a volunteer here in the chat room. And then Melissa says, do nothing Dan needs to go. So you got a couple of folks that are your supporters here in the Facebook, or in the YouTube live rather. 5 days left, Emily. What does the campaign look like? You're in the home stretch right now.
Ooh, I'm excited. You have no idea. So let's see. We have been phone banking. I know people are so tired. Like, when I call, people are like, we've gotten 10 calls about your campaign. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to take your time. Just know that they're calling for me. Like, I'm the candidate. So if you actually want to like talk to me, like, please feel free. And I tell them, this is my cell phone number. Reach out to me. Saturday, we're going to be lit dropping We're meeting at Nicolay High School in Glendale, and we'll be covering Glendale, River Hills, and Brown Deer. That's my Milwaukee County area. And then Sunday, we will be in Germantown, which is extremely red, but we'll be lit dropping there. And then Monday, my team and I are just going to be lit dropping through the end. I'll be doing phone calls until Tuesday, and that's a wrap. That's it.
Let me see if I can do this, if I can pull this off. Hang on, bear with me. Bear with me.
An Army veteran, health professional, and a mom working for Wisconsin families. Emily Siegrist for State Assembly. Emily's put service to our community first. As a veteran and nurse practitioner, she's worked to keep families safe and healthy. And in the Wisconsin Assembly, Emily will keep fighting to get families the health care they need, protecting pre-existing conditions and lowering the cost of prescription drugs so Wisconsin families can get ahead. Honest service for our community. Emily Siegrist for Wisconsin.
Well, there you go.
There it is.
If you want more information about you, about the campaign, if they want to donate, if they want to volunteer, if they want to knock on some doors and do some lit dropping, of course, being socially distant and safe all while doing so, how do they go about doing those things?
Emily Siegrist 4WI.com. Sorry. We have all the information there. We have info@emilysiegrist4WI.com. You can email us, reach out to us. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Like that, I know that's popular.
You're in the middle of a campaign. I would expect such noises.
But yeah, so come check us out. We are socially distancing for the event on Saturday. We're supporting small businesses called Donut Monsters, so we're gonna have donuts available. And yeah, if you want to donate, our link is on the website too. And Sherwin, thank you for everything. Yeah, it just continues. For having me on today, and I appreciate everyone's support and their encouragement. It's extremely kind, for the love of Pete. And I'm so excited. I had a rut like a month ago of being like, oh, this is struggling right now. And today I'm just like euphoric. Like I'm so excited.
I can tell, and your supporters are euphoric as well because they're texting you left and right. We're going to let you get back to it. Good luck to you. And then hopefully we'll have the favorable result on November 3rd. And we can't wait to talk to you again after that.
Yes, bring it back on. Yes. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Right. Bye. All right, guys. Go and check out Emily's website. I donated some money to her. She called me. Oh, she was raising money for this campaign last year because she knew that it would be a very tough fight to unseat an entrenched Republican incumbent in a district where the lines of the boundaries were drawn to make sure that as many Republican voters were encapsulated as possible. And so I wasn't going to tell her now when she was on with us, but when she called me and asked me for a donation, she should have asked for more money, but gave her a donation nonetheless. I certainly would encourage you to support her as well, because if we have Democratic control of the Wisconsin State Assembly, which if you would have brought that up to me last year, I would have said impossible. It's beyond a long shot, because there is just so much, anger and just outright disappointment by Republicans because of Donald Trump and how he has just led this country into the ground with his lack of leadership. There are some people that want to give Democrats a shot. There are Republicans, even in Trump country, that want to try something different, because clearly 4 years of Donald Trump, whether it's economic and jobs, whether it's the social climate, whether it's the racial divisions, whether it's just him being an immature, petulant child, people are just sick of that. It's now the time to say that the Democrats are the adults in the room that have a plan to make things better and to have the diverse voices of our communities and our neighborhoods included in policy, where the Republicans are only talking to one another. That's it. They come up with the ideas, they come up with the plans with very little input from constituents. And I say that because if they listened to people, how people were suffering, they would make stimulus money available. They would be doing more to stem the tide of the pandemic. They're not doing any of that. They're coming up with these ideas in these dark, smoky rooms, and that's what policy is going to be. Okay, if you're going to go that route, then when you see your policies are actually hurting people, including your very own Republican constituencies, don't be shocked when people want to try something different. That being said, there are a number of great candidates that are running in gerrymandered Republican districts that have a real shot. On tomorrow's show, we're going to be talking to Alderman Aaron Perry. He was a Republican, changed his party. He currently is a city of Waukesha alderman, changed his party to Democrat back in 2018 because at that point, he had seen enough of Donald Trump. Just after 2 years of Trump's presidency, he changed his party. And now Aaron Perry is running for the Wisconsin State Assembly in the 97th district. Again, another gerrymandered, ultra-conservative, ultra-Republican district. And Aaron Perry is now very competitive in that district. And there are these instances all over the state of Wisconsin where Democrats have essentially thrown in the towel. The way the maps were drawn because of the previous census, Republicans made it virtually impossible for Democratic candidates to get traction. But because we have so many Republican voters that are tired of voting for Republican policies, and Wisconsin is probably the litmus test for how Republican policies fail. About a week or so ago, I put up a map of the counties that have the highest proportion and percentage of COVID-19 deaths, save for one county that's in Minnesota. And it's a red county in Minnesota. And Minnesota is traditionally a blue state. I guess we'll see. Trump thought he was or thinks he's competitive in Minnesota. But all of the states, all the 20 states that have the highest COVID deaths, they're all Republican states. And they love to complain about, these blue Democrat cities and all of the crime and these terrible things happening in blue Democrat cities. Let's be abundantly clear. If you live in a red state, you are more likely to die from the coronavirus. Republicans often promote having low taxes and you're paying too much in taxes. That also means that public assistance and help for people when they are struggling and additional resources that we need to keep a society afloat, especially in times like these, do not exist in Republican-controlled cities, states, and counties. There is not the investment from the people to take care of one another when we are in dire straits. And I think it is playing out before our very eyes. So I'm extremely hopeful that Democrats will be able to make some sizable gains in Wisconsin State Assembly, because also Tony Evers' next 2 years are going to be the most trying of his gubernatorial term. The aftermath of this next wave of the coronavirus, where even more businesses will go under, more people are going to lose their homes, more people are going to get evicted, having to deal with that with a Republican-controlled state assembly and a state senate is going to amount to no positive movement whatsoever. Now, if we can get Democrats in the Wisconsin State Senate and the Wisconsin State Assembly in legislative control, then we will have a much easier time. Now, don't get me wrong, when Democrats get majorities, they argue and complain too, but they argue and complain on the side of helping the most people and the most diverse constituencies in the state. We can finally have some meaningful progress, but then also these next 2 years for Governor Tony Evers, because he's up for re-election in 2022, if he even runs again. Tony was the state superintendent of Department of Public Instruction, more like everybody's high school principal instead of a hard-nosed political hack. I don't know if Governor Evers knew what he was in for, and the coronavirus notwithstanding, just how difficult it is to work with Republicans. 180, 190 days where they have passed no legislation in a time where, remember, this is the Republicans that are doing this. They have got legislative control. They could have put together a variety of measures to help small businesses, to help our healthcare workers and our frontline workers, and they literally opted not to go to work. It's amazing how, they're always against, the masks and they're against the governor's stay-at-home orders. The Republicans in this state are staying home more than anybody else. When it comes to the coronavirus, they're good at staying home and staying away from work, but not going to work for the American people. Terrence says, very true, those PPP loans didn't get to small minority businesses. Terrence, you're correct, and not just here in the state of Wisconsin. That is a national phenomenon. Jennifer Ward says, yay, Emily, best of luck and congratulations to you. Terrence says, Donut Monster is phenomenal and delicious. Small business, he says, and then good morning to you, Udell Harris. Well, look at this, guys. I actually stayed on time and I'm able to end the show at the 10 o'clock time spot. I try to keep these to an hour, but sometimes y'all talk so much and that makes me talk too much and we go over the 1 hour time that I have set for this program. So I got some information a little while ago. I think there's going to be a press conference at 3 o'clock. As I get more information about that press conference at 3 o'clock, I will provide it in the Forum Facebook group. the information that was sent to me, it's kind of a big deal what may be happening at 3 o'clock. I'll keep everybody posted in the forum Facebook group. If you're not a member, by all means, sign up and join. Doesn't mean you're going to get in, but at least give it a shot joining the forum Facebook group. And also, if you are viewing this video on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the little notifications button so you can be alerted when we have new videos for you guys to, I don't know, watch, laugh at, share with your friends.